Welcome to Bible Story with Ojits.
In the beginning, before time was measured by the rising and setting of a sun, before the void heard the first command to be filled, there was heaven, a realm of unimaginable splendor, bathed in the eternal light of its creator. This was the age of celestial dawn, a symphony of perfect harmony played on strings of starlight and sung by voices of pure worship. The very air, if it could be called such, vibrated with love, a living, breathing testament to the glory of the one who sat upon the throne. Picture a city not built with hands, but spoken into existence. Its foundations were of jasper, its gates of pearl, and its streets paved with a gold so pure it was like transparent glass. Rivers of living water, clear as crystal, flowed from the heart of this divine metropolis, nourishing trees that bore 12 kinds of fruit, their leaves for the healing of all. Light, not from a star or a moon, but from the very presence of God, filled every corner, casting no shadows, knowing no twilight. It was a light that was also life, a warmth that was also wisdom. In this kingdom of light, the angelic hosts moved with grace and purpose. Seraphim, with their 6 wings, veiled their faces in holy reverence, their unending cry of holy, holy, holy echoing through the expanse. Cherubim, wise and powerful, stood as guardians of divine mysteries, and among them all, one shone with a brilliance that was second only to the Creator himself. His name was Lucifer, the light-bringer, the morning star. He was the anointed cherub who covers, a masterpiece of divine artistry. His form was adorned with every precious stone: sardius, topaz and diamond, beryl, onyx and jasper, sapphire, emerald and carbuncle, all set in the finest gold. He was perfect in beauty, full in wisdom, created to walk upon the holy mountain of God, amidst the stones of fire. His voice led the heavenly choir, his wisdom was unparalleled, and his presence was a beacon of the Creator's magnificent design. Heaven was his home, and worship was his very essence. It was a state of being so perfect, so complete, that it seemed it could never be broken. But even in perfection, the seed of imperfection can be sown by a single, dark thought. In the heart of this perfect creation, a shadow began to form. It did not come from without, for there was no without that was not filled with God's goodness. It rose from within the most beautiful of all created beings. Lucifer, the morning star, in contemplating his own splendor, began to see not the reflection of his Maker, but the image of himself. The music of worship that once flowed freely from his heart began to curdle into a dissonant symphony of self-admiration. He looked upon his wisdom, his power, his unmatched beauty, and a terrible thought took root in the soil of his magnificent being. Why should I serve? Why should I reflect the light, when I can be the light? This was the birth of pride, the first sin, a cancer that grew in the secret chambers of his heart. His gaze, once fixed upon the throne, turned inward. The eye became the center of his universe. The scriptures echo his silent, treacherous ascent. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. 5 times he declared, I will, a declaration of rebellion against the one I am. He no longer desired to be the chief worshiper. He desired to be the one worshipped. He began to whisper his poison among the angelic ranks, seducing them with promises of autonomy and self-deification. He painted the Creator not as a loving father, but as a tyrannical ruler holding them back from their true potential. And tragically, a third of the stars of heaven listened. A third of the angelic hosts, once pure and devoted, were swayed by his charismatic deceit, choosing the shadow of the created over the substance of the Creator. The perfect harmony of heaven was fractured, a discordant note of rebellion now echoing where only praise had been. The stage was set for a conflict that would tear the fabric of eternity. As Lucifer's rebellion swelled from a whispered secret to an open declaration of war, heaven, for the first time, knew strife. An opposing force, righteous and unyielding, rose to meet the challenge. It was Michael, the archangel, whose name is a question and a battle cry in one. Who is like God? He was not the most beautiful, nor the most adorned, but his heart was a fortress of unwavering loyalty. He stood not in his own power, but as the commander of the Lord's army, his entire being a testament to the truth that there is none like the Most High. And so war erupted in heaven. This was no clash of mortal flesh and steel. This was a war of light against light, of will against will. Imagine the scene. A tempest of celestial energy, a maelstrom of sound and fury. Michael, his countenance burning with righteous indignation, led the loyal hosts. His sword, forged from divine justice, cut through the air, a streak of holy fire. Lucifer, now a being of terrible, corrupted beauty, met him with equal ferocity. His light, once pure, was now a cold and vicious fire. His followers, their angelic forms twisted by pride, clashed with their former brethren. Wings of white and gold met wings of shadow and flame. Shouts that were once songs of praise became cries of battle. The heavens themselves seemed to tremble as legions of angels collided, the energy of their conflict sending shockwaves through the spiritual realm. This was a battle for the very soul of heaven, a clash between humility and pride, between selfless love and selfish ambition. Every swing of a celestial sword, every beat of 1,000 wings, was a choice, to serve in love or to rule in rebellion. The cosmos held its breath, witnessing a conflict so profound that its echoes would ripple through all of creation, for all of time. Amidst the chaos of clashing legions and the terrible beauty of celestial warfare, a sound unlike any other silenced the heavens. It was not the clang of spiritual armor or the cry of angelic warriors. It was a voice that was both a whisper and a thunderclap, a voice that spoke worlds into existence and could unmake them with a breath. The voice of God, the Almighty, rolled across the battlefield. It was not a voice of negotiation or debate. It was a voice of absolute judgment. The time for choice had passed. The line had been drawn. The rebellion, born in the secret pride of a heart, was now laid bare before the unblinking eye of its creator. From the throne of glory, the verdict was declared, resonating with the finality of eternal truth. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. The words were not just heard. They were felt, a cosmic decree that exposed the core of Lucifer's sin. By the multitude of your merchandise they have filled the midst of you with violence and you have sinned. Therefore I will cast you as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. The judgment was swift, absolute, and righteous. The beauty that had fueled his pride was now the reason for his downfall. The wisdom he had twisted into deceit was now pronounced folly. The high position he had abused was stripped from him. The light he sought to steal was extinguished, replaced by an eternal darkness. The sentence was passed not in anger, but in a divine sorrow and perfect justice. The morning star's fate was sealed. And then the fall. It was not a slow descent, but a violent cataclysmic expulsion. Revelation describes it with terrifying brevity. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Imagine a bolt of lightning, brilliant and terrifying, torn from the sky. That was Lucifer's fall. He and his rebellious legions were stripped of their heavenly dwelling, hurled from the heights of glory into the formless void that awaited creation. They were cast out of the light, out of perfection, out of the very presence of God. As they fell, a great voice was heard in heaven, a shout of victory and relief. Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down. With the rebels gone, a profound stillness settled over heaven. The echoes of war faded, replaced by a renewed and purified silence. The wounds in the fabric of eternity began to heal. The loyal angels who had stood firm looked upon the empty spaces left by their fallen brethren, not with triumph alone, but with a deep and solemn understanding of the cost of pride and the holiness of God. The harmony, once broken, was restored, but it was a new kind of harmony. One that had been tested by fire and had emerged stronger, purer, and more devoted than before. The worship that now rose to the throne was deeper, imbued with the knowledge of good and evil, of loyalty and betrayal. Peace was restored, but it was a peace that carried the memory of a great sorrow. Heaven was clean again, its light undimmed, and in that holy quiet, as the dust of a celestial war settled, God turned his attention to the void. His next word, spoken into the darkness where the fallen star now lurked, would be a word of creation, a word of hope, a word that would begin a new story on a new stage. His next word would be, "Let there be light."
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.